Harriet Tubman removed from National Parks website. What's going on?
So y'all removed Harriet Tubman from the Underground Railroad page. Y'all removed Harriet Tubman from the Underground Railroad page. I'm sorry. Don't them two go hand in hand? That's like peanut butter and jelly. That's like motherfucking salt and pepper. There is no Underground Railroad reference without Harriet Tubman.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching me from. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. What is trending right now in the USA and each and every African American or black person must to know is the removal of the legend Harriet Tubman image from Underground Railroad portrayals. And this was done by Trump administration. The NPS, they updated their portrayals and their webpage, and they removed the image and quotes of Harriet Tubman. This has caused a lot of uproar, a lot of rage, and black Americans and everyone who knew Harriet Tubman as a legend is complaining and asking, why are they trying to erase the history of black person or the history of black people? In case you don't know about the Underground Railroad or you don't know about Harriet Tubman, let's go back a little. Underground Railroad was a secret network of people, roads, and safe houses used in 19th centuries to help enslaved African Americans to escape from the Southern United, going to the North and Canada, where it was safe. Slavery was illegal. Now, it wasn't actually a road, but it was called Underground Railroad because it operated secretly and moved people along like a train system. Now, Harriet Tubman, formerly enslaved woman, was born in 1882. He was the conductor of Underground Railroad. Now, what Harriet Tubman was doing, she guided enslaved people from south to the north and later Canada, where slavery was illegal, as I have told you. She used secret routes, signals, and safe houses. She is a legend, and a lot of people refer to her as Moses because she never lost a person in any mission. So before we dive into this video, let's watch this reaction of black Americans reacting to this issue on why Trump administration is removing the images of this African American legend Harriet Tubman. Let's watch these clips and then we'll come back again and talk about it.
It's giving erasure. It's giving whitewashing. It's giving Trump's America. It's giving, oh, we see exactly what you're doing. And most importantly, it's giving news. The National Park Service just scrubbed Harriet Tubman from their Underground Railroad webpage. Yes, the one and only Harriet Tubman. Her face used to be front and center. She had a bold quote which outlined her heroic legacy, but now all of it is completely gone. Instead, they swapped her out for a stamped collage and a vague blurb about black and white cooperation. No mention of the word enslavement. No mention of Fugitive Slave Act. There's no truth, and it's not random. It's really on purpose. It's Trump's culture war in action. Let's not forget, Trump is the one who gutted DEI and told agencies to stop talking about systemic racism. Now that he's back in office, erasure is his main policy here. Harriet Tubman did not just cooperate. She risked her life to free our ancestors. And they're trying to delete her from history like she was a footnote? So let me ask you this. If the Underground Railroad doesn't center around Harriet Tubman, who does it center around then? And who benefits when our stories are softened, sanitized, and scrubbed from national memory? It's giving censorship. It's giving dog whistle policy. It's giving news. Don't scroll, drop a comment. If you see the pattern, share this if you're tired of this gaslighting we oftentimes endure. But we're not going outside. Thank you.
You can't whitewash black history. By now, y'all should know that. Y'all's president got y'all feeling very comfortable, but it's not going to work. If you think you're going to be able to wipe something out of history, it'll never happen, because if you have to go back and wipe out your own damn history that you've lied about. Which is why you don't include the real reason y'all are here and the real reason you got here, because you don't want to put your children on game about how corrupt you are and how much of a thief you are. So until you want to tell your story, stop altering ours. Thank you.
So are they really trying to rewrite black history? Let's talk about Harriet Tubman. The National Park Service just removed references to Harriet Tubman from the Underground Railroad webpage. Harriet Tubman, the most iconic conductor of the Underground Railroad, gone. Instead, they are now emphasizing black or white cooperation. And while yes, many people helped, erasing Tubman's face and name from the story is erasing black history. And this matters, especially for black folks, because our ancestors fought, risked their lives, and led. Tubman wasn't just part of the story, she was the blueprint. And downplaying her role is just another way of whitewashing our impact and contribution. But here's the kicker. The National Park Services still have other pages honoring her. So why remove her from the Underground Railroad one? This isn't just an edit though. We got to speak up, because if we don't protect our legacy, who will? Why are they doing this? Comment, like, share, and follow for more.
Okay, so the National Park Service is trying to erase Harriet Tubman. Is part of one of the biggest problems we have right now is them trying to act like slavery didn't exist, that everything started as equal, there's no problems, and just they're doing it in plain sight right now, right in front of our faces. And the fact that we continue to try not to address it and erase it from websites and pages, it's just going to make things worse and make it worse and make it more of a problem. So clearly DEI is directed at black people. And it's just like, why would you even do that? Why would you even go for the website? How serious is that? Okay, people need to know the history. People need to know American history. That's why America has problems now, because we're just trying to act like it never happened. Okay? If you and your girlfriend went through a tumultuous time and you act like it never happened and you never address those issues, it's going to keep coming up and you just can't keep erasing it. Right? Eventually it's going to bubble up to the top and there's going to be a race war. Okay? Or there's going to be people doing hate crimes for no reason. There's going to be people who think they deserve things for no reason. And there's going to be people not getting a fair shot for no reason because nobody wants to talk about history.
Hey, I don't know if y'all know this, but the National Park Service website, those motherfuckers deleted the original information that was on there about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. You know, there was a whole quote about her saying, I was a conductor of the Underground Railroad for 8 years, and they changed it and added information about how white people helped. They changed it from it being a spotlight on Harriet Tubman to how white people helped Harriet Tubman. Not everything's about race, though, am I right?
Good morning, TikTok family. How you doing? My voice is a little bit strange this morning because I was out celebrating Pride yesterday here in Miami Beach on Ocean Drive, and clearly I sang and talked and laughed a little too much. But anyway, I'm jumping on quickly because I have a question. I just read that they have removed Harriet Tubman's name, the National Park Service, from discussions about the Underground Railroad. And they put in this horrible language about, I don't know, how people were learning to work together or something ridiculous, as people who were enslaved were fleeing the horrors of slavery. And so my question that I really have is this.
So y'all removed Harriet Tubman from the Underground Railroad page. Y'all removed Harriet Tubman from the Underground Railroad page. I'm sorry. Don't them two go hand in hand? That's like peanut butter and jelly. That's like motherfucking salt and pepper. There is no Underground Railroad reference without Harriet Tubman. This is what the original page looked like. What was the Underground Railroad? And under it said, I was the conductor of the Underground Railroad for 8 years. And I can say what most conductors can't say. I never ran my train off the track and I never lost passage. Harriet Tubman, 1896. This is what it looks like now. There is no mention of Harriet Tubman whatsoever. It says the U.S. Postal Service Underground Railroad. It talks about the stamp. It says the Underground Railroad flourished from the end of the 18th century to the Civil War, was one of the most significant expressions of American civil rights movement during the evolution of over more than American? Where the fuck is African American? Black people, start educating your kids at home, because they really are trying to erase the significance of our people. And I'm trying not to get frustrated. That's just pissed me off. That really just made me mad. That just made me mad. And I see a lot of shit that they're doing, but it's becoming like, for real? Like, that woman is instrumental in our freedom. That is one of the bravest women I have ever read about. And y'all just took her out like that. Y'all removed her like that. That just pissed me off. And I know I'm not supposed to be mad. And I know we're supposed to be resting, but it's still like, I don't want it to act like it doesn't hurt seeing that. I don't want it to act like it does not hurt seeing them try to erase our people and our culture from this country like we don't fucking exist.
What's up, you guys? I've been working behind the scenes on a project. Details to come. For now, your latest news update. Harriet Tubman removed from National Parks website. What's going on? Let's begin with this breaking news out of D.C., where a quiet but deeply troubling shift has been uncovered within a federal agency entrusted with telling our nation's stories. The National Park Service, a steward of American history and heritage, has removed key references to Harriet Tubman, the Underground Railroad, and the harsh realities of slavery from its website, a change that appears to align with a broader rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion policies under the Trump administration's ongoing campaign to, quote, reshape public discourse and federal narratives. The edits. Let's break down what's changed. Until recently, the National Park Service web page on the Underground Railroad opened with a striking image and a quote from Harriet Tubman, the iconic abolitionist and freedom fighter who led dozens of enslaved people to liberty. But between late January and March, that content disappeared. Also removed were several references to enslaved people, replaced with vague or sanitized language. Mentions of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, a critical piece of legislation that allowed the capture and return of people escaping slavery, has also been deleted. These edits were first spotted by digital archivists comparing recent snapshots of the page to earlier versions. The changes were not publicly announced and no explanation was essentially given. Political context. The removals come amid a broader campaign by the Trump administration to eliminate or severely reduce diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI programs across the federal government. Since returning to power, the administration has taken steps to dismantle DEI offices, halt anti-racism training, and defund initiatives aimed at promoting equity in hiring, education, and public communications. Critics say the recent website edits are a clear extension of that agenda, this time targeting the nation's collective memory, the erasure of Harriet Tubman, and the other essential historical truths. Official resources is being interpreted not as oversight, but as intentional. Cultural historian Dr. Nadia Templeton stated, when you erase Harriet Tubman, you erase resistance. When you erase slavery, you deny the struggle. This isn't about aesthetics, it's about ideology. Public and expert reaction. Reactions have been swift and impassioned. The NAACP issued a scathing statement today, saying in part, these changes represent a dangerous form of historical revisionism. The truth of America's past, including its brutal legacy of slavery, must never be hidden to suit political agendas. Educators, historians, and museum professionals have echoed these concerns. A coalition of more than 30 university history departments signed an open letter demanding the immediate restoration of the original webpage content, calling the edits a betrayal of public trust. Online outrage has spread across social media platforms where users are sharing screenshots of the original webpage using a hashtag like Save Tubman and Stop Erasing History, and the latest, the blackout. Digital activists have begun archiving federal web pages in real time, fearing more quiet rollbacks of inclusive historical narratives. Government and agency response. In response to mounting criticism, the National Park Service released a short statement later this afternoon. The website is being updated as a part of standard content review. We remain committed to accurately telling the story of the Underground Railroad. However, the ACNG offered no timeline for when or if Harriet Tubman's content will return. And White House Press Secretary dodged direct questions, saying only, "The president believes in telling American stories that unite us. We support the Park Service in managing their own communications." For many, that non-answer speaks volumes. The stakes. This moment is about more than a single webpage. It's about whose stories get told, whose lives are remembered, and whose suffering is acknowledged. Harriet Tubman is not just a historical figure. She is a symbol of courage, justice, and unrelenting hope in the face of unspeakable brutality. The Underground Railroad wasn't just a metaphor, it was a lifeline for thousands seeking freedom. Stripping away these narratives from public education sites doesn't erase the past, it distorts it, and with it, the foundation of our shared understanding. As Dr. Templeton stated, this is about truth, and the truth isn't always comfortable, but it is necessary. What's next? Advocacy groups and lawmakers are demanding accountability. Congressional Democrats are calling for hearings, and multiple civil rights organizations are preparing to file Freedom of Information Act requests to uncover who authorized the changes and why. Meanwhile, educators across the country are organizing virtual teach-ins and curriculum sharing sessions to ensure students continue to learn the full, unvarnished truth about Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad, with or without government support. This story is developing, and I will be following every update. For now, one thing is clear: the way we remember history shapes the way we understand justice, identity, and freedom. And that's a conversation that must never be erased. Thank you. That was your latest news update.
Welcome back. I hope you have listened to the videos, and a lot of black Americans are not happy about it, and even some white people who knew Harriet Tubman as a legend, they are not happy about it, because this is like they are trying to delete or erase black people culture or black people history. They are trying to rewrite or to whitewash the history. Now, the Trump administration has removed Harriet Tubman image and quotes from the NPA's Underground Railroad web page, and they are saying that it's part of a broader initiative to revise federal narrative on race and history. These efforts include eliminating diversity, equity, and inclusion, and which we call DEI. Now, the updated web page now emphasizes that black and white cooperation, replacing Tubman's prominent presence with images of postal stamps depicting interracial collaboration. Now, this is like erasing the black people history, and some people are saying that they are doing this to make black people sad, or to make black people mad, so that they can go maybe on the street and protest. They have tried a number of times to remove black people from the houses to go on the protest, but black people are like, okay, we are not going to do this. And this is another shocker after they removed the BLM signs and images and portraits from the road where it was written, if you saw those videos. Now, Harriet Tubman matters up to today, and the reason why Harriet Tubman matters up to today, because she was a symbol of courage and resistance. She stood up against the brutal system of slavery and risked everything to free herself and others. Today, she is seen as a symbol what it means to fight injustice even when the odds are against you. Harriet Tubman represented a black empowerment, or she is a representation of black empowerment. Tubman's stories challenged the old narrative of enslaved people being perceived as victims. She was bold, strategic, and fearless. Now, her life inspires black communities and allies to push for justice and equality in modern systems like education, law enforcement, and economic access. Black women, or every woman in the United States or in the USA, they see Harriet Tubman as women's strength and leadership. She was a black woman leading in time when women, especially black women, had no legal rights or voices. She now held up as an icon of feminism and women's leadership, especially in a movement like Black Lives Matters. And this, I just align with what people are saying, that, or those who voted for never voted for Trump said that Trump is going to do away with all the marginalized group. And marginalized group is black people, Latinos, LGBT, and women's, So it is loosening the power of women. And this is what we call rewriting of history. What Trump said, that he wanna rewrite history and he's trying to whitewash the history of America. Now, the story of Harriet Tubman is told in books, documentary, and movies. And I can refer you to a movie like the 2019 film Harriet. And she's part of school curriculums and public debates around how we remember and teach history. Now, it's like the history, or Trump administration does not want the history of black people to be taught in schools. And this removing of this image and rewriting the history or whitewashing the history will have impact, and a lot of impact. And one of the impact that it will have is like the erasure of the historical identity. Now, by removing or downplaying key figures and events from African American history like Harriet Tubman and the realities of slavery, black Americans may feel, or we are feeling, that their contribution and our contribution of black people and struggles are being devaluated and erased from the national narrative. And this will lead to something like cultural alienation, loss of historical context, and etc., etc. Now, these policies to sanitize or limit teachings about racism, rights, and black history figures reduce the depth or and accuracy of education for all students, especially black students. It will hinder efforts to address racial disparities by obscuring the roots of those disparities. It will contribute to misinformation and stereotypes, or whitewashed version of the history being normalized. Now, deleting or removing these images of African legends and deleting the story of slavery may reinforce structural inequalities. By targeting DEI initiative and removing diversity-focused content from institution is doing all this. It is causing inequalities, because DEI was playing a vital role in speaking about all these inequalities that was happening in the United States. Now, opportunities for black professionals and scholars will shrink in government, academia, and public services. Programs that aimed to close racial gaps in wealth, health, and education may lose support or funding. Now, this is one or most of the impacts that it will have to black people and everyone. And by removing these images, or by erasing this history, or by whitewashing the history, it will have an impact into political and psychological too, because this move will increase political mobilization in protest or resistance. It will deepen mistrust and mental health stress. Now, I've seen DEI, as I said, was playing a very part in addressing the inequalities that is happening around health, education, and reducing the wealth gap and everything. But since Trump came to power, he has been fighting DEI, and he's trying to erase the education of or the history of racism and black people, so that he can bring back America to the people. How he said that he will bring back America, or he will rewrite the history of America. Now, As I said earlier, the work of Harriet Tubman, he was a conductor of the Underground Railroad, and a lot of African Americans who have come across her history, or they can relate with what she was doing. And those people who have taken keenly in history, they term him or they term her as the Moses. And during the Civil War, she worked for the Union Army as a spy, scout, cook, and a nurse. And she was the first woman to lead an armed military operation, the U.S., the Combined River Raid, which freed over 700 enslaved people. Now, freeing 700 enslaved people, it needs determination, and it needs a very, very willing heart to fight, and bold one. And this lady was a bold lady. Now, you have seen that a lot of African Americans are not happy with this story, and that's what the Trump administration wanted. It wanted to cause rage and to cause chaos or mental health, or to cause just issues with the black people. Now, on April 5th, when worldwide or nationwide protest was called, black people said, we are not going to the protest because we have been trying to do this a number of times, yet these other races were not in support, or they did not take it serious. Now, they have done a number of things to make black people go to the street, but it has failed. Now, they are trying to erase now their history. And by erasing this history, they know very well this will cause a lot of rage. And Tubman was remembered, or is remembered as a fearless freedom fighter. And black people will not allow their freedom fighter to be erased from the history. Now, our kids, we will be raising kids that they do not know the history of black people. We will be raising kids that they do not know who is Harriet Tubman. We will raise children who don't know much about Underground Railroad, because they have taken out the image of Tubman and replaced it with postal stamps. What are these? This is bad, and I hope black people are seeing this, and we need to stand as black people and have unity. And as I was saying, going to the protest will not solve this, because this is what they want. They want black people to go to the protest, and then they will say, we are the problem, that Trump is trying to rewrite history, but black people, African Americans, they do not want. Now they will cause hatred, or they will cause a conflict between races. But black people, they are keen on this, So I hope this administration will see what they are trying to do isn't good. But what black people need to do is to have unity, and by having unity, that's where we can get solutions. Because long are the days where protest and killings and shedding of blood was solving issues. And one way of solving issues is to go to the ballot. And another way of solving issues is to stick to our culture and hold on to our history and teach our children about the history. That's what we need to do, because even if they erase this history, we will have taught our students or our children about our own history. As Asian, they really do a very big job by educating their own children. Now, tell me in the comment section, what do you think about this video? It is not a good one, and I didn't love what Trump administration has been done, or the NPS is trying to do. But tell me what you think. Until next episode, peace out.